Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witches Box, and I'm here today with a little bit of a different situation. We haven't done a book haul in a very long time. I haven't done a book haul in a very long time, and we're going to do one today. I'm pretty sure that I didn't do any book hauls in 2020, and part of the reason for that is at the end of 2019, I already had just such an amazing, wild, excessive pile of books around me that it was embarrassing. And it was overwhelming. So I thought I need to just stop, put a moratorium on buying books. I just can't right now for many, many reasons. If I haven't read half of them, then really I should just stop for a minute and read them and then catch up and buy more. And money. And I have a very small office. And so you see the shelves, and when I do lives, you see I have 4 of them actually. They're packed to the brim. I've got piles on the floor, piles on my desk. All of that to say that I put a long pause on books. So I thought, let's just talk about what I've got in my to be read pile. Know that this is only like maybe a third of the books. Because for a couple of reasons. I'm showing you probably the more recent books because I have a couple of piles that are now mixed with other books in terms of topic, because I'm coming up with a little bit of a different reading schedule that is more topic specific, because in the future what I would love to do more of, I did this with the sacred bathing books video that I did a few months ago, where I give you a chunk of books. I'll say, these are the 5 books that I have that I really recommend on this topic. I really want to do more of those going forward. There are other books, other things that I'm interested in, and I'll give you a quickie list. I've been really interested in systems theory lately, so there are quite a few books on systems, not just in business, but in life and ecology and all sorts of things. And I've got a pile for that. I'm always reading business books and marketing books because that's just my steez. I am in a big Brene Brown and Glennon Doyle and Elizabeth Gilbert kick right now. So I've got a bunch of those books going on. If you've never read Brene Brown, please read everything she's ever written. That's just, it's just soul food. So do that. Same thing with Glennon Doyle. So I'm in a big kick with those 3 women, and those books are somewhere else. That's a pile over there. Always sacred food. I'm a foodie, but from a very slow food international perspective. I've been a member of Slow Food International forever. So obviously there are other parts of me. I'm not just a witch, right? So those books I'm not going to talk about here. Know that those piles are also significant. We'll talk about how to manage significant amounts of books after I go through what I have, because I think there are probably quite a few of you out there who are like me. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show and tell. The other thing before I go into the show and tell that I want to kind of preface is that I wanted to make this organized, and it's just not. There are a couple of bundles of the same writer that I want to just kind of do a little mention on. So that's as far as this pile's organization goes. As we get down to towards the end of this pile, or last half of this pile, you're going to see some recurring themes, because these are some books that have they've just started to come to me, which I so absolutely appreciate. I'll try to mention what books were sent to me by someone else and by whom, although there are quite a few books that were sent to me as a gift by someone who doesn't want to be named. So again, I really appreciate, this was a super, super generous gift. I highly appreciate that you gave this to me. And those books came in very specific themes. And so I'll point those out. It's interesting because 2 of you sent me, I think between the 2 of you, like 3 books that were specifically because the cover design was amazing, or you thought it was amazing and you wanted to send me a book with really beautiful cover design. You are so my people. The generosity and the magic of you all is really just breathtaking. So I got such a kick out of that I loved it. So thank you so much for those gifts as well. Okay, the first 3 books are all by one writer. Someone recommended this series to me, and he is 3 books into what I feel is a 4-book series on the elements. And the author is Stephen Forrest. I have not ever read anything by Stephen Forrest. If any of you have, I'd love to hear what your thoughts were. But he's 3 books into what I think is going to be obviously a 4-part series. The Book of Fire, The Life Givers. So this is an elemental deep dive. I'm not quite sure exactly from what lens, right? So I don't know anything about these books. Maybe you do know something about these books. I'd love to hear about it down below, what your thoughts are. This is the Book of Air, The Art of Paying Attention. So it seems to be approaching each element from a very different perspective. This is the Book of Earth, Making It Real. So I'm really curious. I'm not quite sure when the other book is coming out, but I love that this was recommended. I'm wanting to read more and more and get much more broader perspective on what's being talked about out in the world of spirituality and witchcraft in terms of working with elements. We have done quite a few things working with the elemental powers and energies with the Witches Box, and I know that we've covered a couple of books here, but there's so much more out there, right? So I'm curious. And I think I've already mentioned this, I want to do more and more where I give you several books all at once in terms of a topic. So this is kind of giving into that in terms of I want to read more and more. And this is part of that reading. The other things that Stephen Forrest has written, I'm just going to read you these titles because I think they're interesting. And again, this is an author that's new to me. The books that are listed here are The Inner Sky, The Changing Sky, The Night Speaks, The Book of Pluto, Measuring the Night Volume 2, Stalking Anubis, Skymates 2, Yesterday's Sky, The Book of the Moon, The Book of Neptune, and The Book of Fire. So interesting stuff. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. I'm sure these will be one of the books or some of the books that I'll be reviewing sometime in the future with the Booktube channel. So this next book is called The Pregnant Goddess by Erin Murphy Hiscock. I always get her name wrong. It's a beautiful cover. The Pregnant Goddess. A lot of these are recommendations. Someone recommended this to me. There's a lot of requests for working with women's bodies, with women's menstrual cycles, with blood mysteries, blood magic. So I'm doing a side deep dive of my own with quite a few books that I've had from the past that are kind of old and outdated, but still relevant in some ways, with some new books so that I can start putting together something for those people who are asking for that information. And this was recommended and I thought, hey, why not? Let me see what this is like. I have not read it, but this is it. And the design is really just beautiful. It's a hardcover. So there's that. All right. This is Moon Power, another beautifully designed book. You know how I dig it. This was not one of the ones that was sent to me for beautiful design, but I think it's gorgeous design. Look at it. How to Harness the Magic of the Moon to Improve Your Life by Lori Reed. We have, if I'm not mistaken, done a book by Lori Reed in the past that I think I actually reviewed here on YouTube, but I think that this is an addendum to that book or the next book in that series. I really love just the icons, the designs that she's got, and I remember that the book that we did before on her was also really beautifully designed. It's really beautiful. Love the colors. All right, so this is the beginning of a pretty obvious theme that's going to be very evident at the end of this big pile. This was one of the books that was sent to me. A Beginner's Guide to Interpreting Your Birth Chart and Revealing Your Horoscopes, Astrology Made Simple by Allison Mead. There are quite a lot of astrology books here. There's so much question, there's so much curiosity about how to really take astrology deeper for yourself personally beyond the usual horoscope, beyond the usual like new moon, full moon, dark moon. We do those on our website, but the reports for each of those lunar phases, people want more. And so I think I mentioned that somewhere. I don't remember in which video or whatever, but someone said, I'm going to send you a bunch of books and then you tell us what you know. So this is one of those books, which I really appreciate. And there it is for something like this, where I have a general grasp of astrology. I know about houses and transits and aspecting and all those different things to one another, like on a general light surface, right? I have enough awareness to know what's there, but not enough awareness to teach you, and also to really know the full ramifications and implications of all of those things. So for someone like me, or someone who knows less than that, a beginner book on a topic like astrology, which is incredibly detailed, incredibly complex, and multi-layered, beginner books are important. You have to start somewhere, right? So there's a place for those books. So this is by Ember Grant. I don't know why I love the name Ember. Mythology for a Magical Life, Story, Rituals, and Reflections to Inspire Your Craft. Again, I love this kind of book design. It's beautiful. Have not heard of this book until I got it. Have never read anything by Ember Grant, so I'm looking forward to checking this out. This came recommended, so I bought it. It was recommended to me and I bought it. Really lovely. I mean, right? Look at how beautiful. I'm unfollowing a lot of people on Facebook and a lot of groups because I'm just, again, my whole life is about eliminating extraneous noise as much as possible because I need laser focus on the things that I choose to have focus on. And this book and this writer has come up countless times in two of the groups that I still follow because I still feel like I get nourished by those groups on Facebook, which is a very, very rare thing. So I think when it's all said and done, the groups that I'll still be hanging on to on Facebook will probably be one of the two or both of these groups. The author is Patricia Lynn Riley. This book is called The Deeper Wisdom, The 12 Steps from a Woman's Perspective. Another gorgeous drawing cover. I am really drawn to pretty much every single quote that I see pulled out of all of her books on the internet. It just inspired me to get this book, and I actually have ordered a few of her other books, and I'm waiting for them to arrive. Women's spirituality, women's empowerment, women's liberation, so much of that just seems to be reflected in her writing, and as I identify and am a woman, I just had to have them, so that's what this is. Now, this is another book. This is one of the books that was sent to me because of the design, and interestingly enough, separate from the other person who sent me all the two themed books that I got from them, it's still on theme. This is like a big theme that's coming up. The Astrology of You and Me, How to Understand and Improve Every Relationship in Your Life. This is by Gary Goldschneider. This was sent to me because of the design of the book, but also the topic. I mean, come on. Hardcover. Look at that. Some of it's simple in terms of design and in photography. I love very clean images with very clean subjects. I don't like a lot of clutter. Some people can do clutter in a really beautiful way. Like one of the examples I think of that is when I do the photography for the Inner Revealings Tarot spreads for each of those blog posts that I do every week. You're going to get 4 cards and a couple, like a couple of little things as decoration. And that's it. But then there are people who will do like the 4 cards and will have like gajillions of things all around the main focal point, and it looks gorgeous. I can't. My brain doesn't work that way. I like clean. I like simple. I like contrast. I find it interesting for me personally that this is technically really cluttered. There's so much going on, but I still love it. And part of, I think, with the simplicity that pulls me is that even though there's a lot of little details here, you've got 3 colors going on. Actually 4. 4 colors, and that's it. But it actually only looks like 2, right? There's a simplicity of color and contrast here that speaks to me. This has nothing to do with books. I'm just sharing with you my design aesthetic. So when I got the note that said, this is just about the design, because I know that you'd love the design. Yeah, you're right. Even though it doesn't, on the surface, look like it's something that I would really like. I really love it. So there you go. I got this book because someone told me about it. And I don't know Arthur Edward Waite. I've never read anything else by this person. This is the book of Black Magic and of Pax, including the rites and mysteries of Goetic. I can never say this word. This is my whole ESL situation coming through. Goetic Theurgy, Sorcery, and Infernal Necromancy. This was recommended, so I got it. Because again, it's all about the education. I'll let you know. This is one of the books that I'll definitely be reviewing on the Booktube channel. I mentioned those 2 groups on Facebook, right? This book also came as a reference from one of those groups. It's called Willendorf's Legacy, The Sacred Body, A Girl God Anthology. And A Girl God is actually the group on Facebook that I follow. I love all her quotes and all her writings. And so this is that book. Really inspired simply because what quotes I read from this book on that group page, all of them just were one of the, when you read a quote and it's like, oh, you just feel it. I read like 3 different quotes from this book and immediately I'm like, forget it. I gotta get it. So I went to Amazon and I ordered the book. So there it is. These books that I have next, I'm going to give you the 3 all at once, were recommendations. This is an author, again, that I have not read before in the past, but they came highly recommended. All 3 of them are by Llewellyn. The writer is called Constantinos. And I had heard of the writer, but very little. It was so that when the name came up, it was like familiar to me, but nothing of the books. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to get from these books. So here it is. Constantino Nocturne, Calling Dark Forces and Powers. What's that? I don't know anything about this writer, so if anyone has comments or has read these before, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. The other book is Summoning Spirits, The Art of Magical Evocation. And then the third one that I have is Nocturnal Witchcraft, Magic After Dark. So there's that. So I'm looking forward to reading these because the person who did read them said that they were amazing. So we'll see. This was also one of the books that came to me because of the design. The Power of Hex, Spells, Incantations, and Rituals. And the note that came with this was squee, because I love to use the word squee. You guys are awesome and you so pay attention and I just love that. So the note that I got with this one was, because I say this all the time, squee. I don't actually think that the person who sent me these books were necessarily just concerned with the topics as much as it was really about the cover. It's also a hardcover. And who's this put out by? The Chicago Review Press, which honestly, I don't know that I've ever read anything by this publisher. So I'll read it, but yes, I also very much love the cover. It's really great. And I'm loving the whole hardcover action. This book inside is one of those books that I call great gift books. Everything is designed gorgeously, right? in little chunks that are easy to digest. So I always love these as gift books because they're easy reads. They do pack information. It's like the Witchcraft and High Designs version of the Dummy's Guide to Whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoy it because you get just yummy visuals. And I'm all about do I have to say it again? I'm all about the design. I'm all about the visuals. It just adds so much amazing flavor to a reading experience. This is like a fun book to hang out with on a Sunday. It's still freezing where I'm at, even though it needs to be spring already, but it's not. So hot beverage, hot coffee, and like blankets and pillows and a fun book to curl up with. I find these to be fun. So I'm looking forward to this, The Power of the Hex. Boom. So this book I bought, Mindfulness, Meditations for Anxiety by Michael Smith, PhD. This book represents about, I'm going to try not to lie because I have some shame about how many books this represents. We're probably looking at 37 other books, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't counted in a couple of weeks, and I know that there were a couple books that came in the mail recently. I'm doing research for a project. Obviously, meditation is part of that, and the topic of meditation is part of that project. So I have quite a big pile over there, one of my 5 huge piles, with a lot of books on meditation. And so this is one of the recent ones that just came in the mail. So here it is, but it represents about 37, maybe now 40, I don't know, because I'm immersing myself into a whole other world for a particular thing. So I didn't want to bring all those over here. This is that. And also because, just as a side note, mindfulness meditation for people who are neurodivergent in any way, people who are dealing with and living with depression and anxiety, will have different effects on you than it would for someone who does not have those issues. And so it's important to understand, and I'm trying harder to keep that in mind when I espouse all of the benefits of do deep meditation, when you go into, or when we talked about shadow work and working with your shadow. There are different techniques that are needed for people who are really in the height of or in the depth of depression and anxiety. So learning that, understanding that is part of it. This is not necessarily a deep psychological deep dive into anxiety by any means. It's just 100 simple practices for anxiety, but it's also representative of a different topic that I'm trying to go into to understand how people who are neurodivergent in those ways, who have issues with depression and anxiety and other things, how can we modify some of our deeper practices to help support this and not exacerbate it, right? So there's that. Okay, these 2 books represent 4 books that I don't know where the other 2 books are, and I'm very sorry. This is the first time I'm acknowledging this, and I'm really embarrassed because I should have acknowledged this a long time ago. I had taken a photo of the 4 books that came in the mail by this author last year to put on Instagram to say, oh my God, thank you. And then I don't know what happened, but it's not there. And I know that I have folded the other 2 books into one of those piles that I can't readily identify by looking over there. This is by Ivo Dominguez Jr. Ivo, thank you so much for sending these books to me. I have been so excited to read everything that you've written, and I haven't, but these 2 came from Ivo along with 2 other books, and I really highly appreciate it. I'm excited to get into it. One of them is Casting Sacred Space, and the other one is Practical Astrology for Witches and Pagans. Again, the astrology theme is just coming through, right? But these all came from Ivo. So thank you so much, Ivo. I really appreciate it. I do have a little bit of a system here where I've got them sort of grouped together. So these 2 books are written by an author that we have had participate in our book subscription twice, our live book covens we've had on books that he's written twice. He's co-written with Jane Meredith. I think both of them were co-written with Jane Meredith. In any case, love Getty Parma, Fio, as he prefers to be called. These 2 books are written by him. One is Land and Sky and Sea, and the other one is Spirited. I'm really excited to read these books. The 2 that I've read that he co-wrote with Jane Meredith are amazing. We've had the honor to sit down with him and just receive his wisdom in our book coven gatherings. And so these 2 books are by him. Looking forward to reading them and seeing what they're about. This book I bought a long time ago, like early last year. I have not gotten into it. Someone recommended it to me. It's called A Woman Who Glows in the Dark. A Curandera Reveals Traditional Aztec Secrets of Physical and Spiritual Health by Elena Avila and Joy Parker. So there's that. Interested very much in the curandera practices, and so that's one of those books. I've got actually several in another pile. Spirit Conjuring for Witches, Magical Evocation, simplified by Frater Barabas. Another theme that's coming up with evocation. This is a very occult type book cover, but a really good one. Some of the occult books, the covers are just like Come on, dude. But I love this. This is gorgeous. I love the monochromatic color, but I also love do you see that shine? I love when they're stamped with something that's glossy over matte. That's just turns me on. It's all about contrast for me too. So love it. I don't remember how I came by this book. Someone either sent it to me. Someone must have sent it to me, but now I don't remember. So if you sent it to me, thank you. I know I'm so late in doing this. More on theme. This is A Simple Guide to Astrology for the Modern Mystic by Vanessa Montgomery, and it's called Star Power. A little smaller, hardcover. We'll see. You're going to be reaping the rewards of all of this astrological reading at some point or another, but another fun, well-designed, fun-designed book that I think could be a gift. This might also make it into one of our book giveaways in the future, but probably only after I read it because I want to read it. Another astrology book, Predictive Astrology, The Ego and the Lark, and this is by Bernadette Brady, another author that I've never read before, but predictive astrology is definitely a huge thing, so looking forward to that. When this is all said and done, man, I'm not going to be an expert in astrology, but I'm going to be like maybe a junior higher in astrology. All right. So this was a fun book that someone sent me. I think that it's actually geared towards children, but it's on dreams. It's called Dreams. Unlock Inner Wisdom, Discover Meaning, and Refocus Your Life. This is probably going to go into the giveaway pile only because it's very, very 101. It also has just a lot of that dream decoding that I just want all of us to stop doing. And that's not necessarily an indictment. Oh my God, this is so cute. It's not an indictment against the book by any means, but it's just not where my interest lies. I think that really when we talk about sacred dream work, we need to start facilitating each one of us in deepening in our own interpretation wisdom as opposed to relying on external correspondences that have nothing to do with your individual dream language. We all have our own dream language, and these decoding books, throw them out. Don't do it. Don't do it. Really, really work at understanding what your dream language is, because your dream language is different than mine. A road for me is not the same as a road for you. Someone dying for me is not the same as someone dying for you. Colors, right? Everyone has their own sense of correspondences. However, as I'm talking to you and I'm thumbing through this book, what I will say is that the illustration is beautiful. Come on. Wow. So the illustration of this book is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I love it. But it will probably go into a giveaway pile that will probably make someone really happy because it is at the very least really gorgeous. So there's that. More astrology. Are you tired of this already? This is by Teresa Reed. It's called Astrology for Real Life, a workbook for beginners, a no BS guide for the astro curious. Oh, I like me a workbook. See, now this has a lot of information. So here's this. I mean, my gosh, I'm going to be reading about astrology for a whole year at this point. So there's that. Healing with Shamanism. There's that. Practices and traditions to restore and balance the self. Another big interest of mine by Jamie Meyer, M.A. This was a recommendation that I bought. I don't remember who recommended it to me, but I bought it on a recommendation. This was sent to me. This is by Temperance Alden. It's Year of the Witch, connecting with nature's seasons through intuitive magic. We have been talking a lot about intuitive magic and witchcraft here. So this is kind of on theme. I love that. It's beautiful. This little mysterious book is by Karina Blackhart, The Witch's Book of Silence. This was recommended to me. I bought it and I have no idea what it's about, but the title alone really just turns me on for so many reasons. Like I can riff off of a witch's need for silence in particular situations for hours. So, and some of you have, either had the benefit of that or the curse of hearing me talk about it. So I have no idea what it's about. However, just the title alone really turn me on. These two books are by the same author, recommended to me. I bought them. They're by Sarah Robinson. Love the illustration and the cover, but I also love the connection between magic and yoga, and I'm really into both of those things. So I'm looking forward to reading them. This is what I call a typical occult book cover. It's called The Book of Smokeless Fire. The Book of Smokeless Fire, and it's by Nephilim Press, by S. Ben Quayen. Another one that was really highly recommended, so there's that. I do like the graphics, actually. But you know how there's a look? There's a look. Okay, so this book also came recommended to me. It's by Christopher S. Hyatt and Lon Milou Duquette. It's Sex, Magic, Tantra, and Tarot, The Way of the Secret Lover. There you go. You know that I operate in all three of those things, so I was curious about this, so there you go. Here's where the second theme starts coming in. I talked about the book that I recommend most, and every single time that someone asks me about learning the tarot is Holistic Tarot by Ben Balwen. And so I've said this often, I will probably always say this, and really, if you never buy another book on tarot ever, if you just buy that book, you never need to buy another book. Like, it's that good. I so highly recommend it. It has that much information. It is holistic, right? That's a thing that's actually going to be coming up a lot here. It's just the whole of it in a way that is brilliant and comprehensive. And I can go on, but I have a video all about that book here on Booktube. Go check it out. Because I said that, there were some of you who were like, but wait, there are so many other books on tarot. I got an avalanche of books on tarot. So I appreciate the avalanche of books on tarot, and I will do my due diligence and go through them. I promise. So the first of all the tarot books that I got in the mail, literally, you guys, I got book after book after book. This is called The Mindful Tarot, Bring a Peace-Filled Compassionate Practice to the 78 Cards, and it's by Lisa Frankel Tishman, PhD. So I got this. Thank you so much. More astrology. This came as a gift as well. The Complete Guide to Astrology, Understanding Yourself, Your Signs, and Your Birth Chart by Louise Eddington. There you go. Understanding your birth chart is a really important, I think, basic process. Even if you are not interested in astrology, there's so much captured in your birth chart, and it's not just the predictive, not just the what does it mean about me if my Saturn and Jupiter are in opposition of each other? It's more than that. Like your imprint, the moment that you were born, that you came into this world, there's so much about that I feel is so empowering. So at the very least, if you don't know all the things about astrology, having some sort of even super cursory or superficial understanding of what your birth chart is, I think is important. So there you go. I got this. Now another tarot book that I got. The Only Tarot Book You'll Ever Need. That's the title of the book, by Sky Alexander and Mary Shannon. What I'm going to say is I could probably just feel up this book for hours on end and be happy, because there's a texture to it. This circle, you cannot see it. Can you? No, you can't see it on the camera, but it's indented. It's a stamp. Oh, I love it. And then you've got, of course, the contrast between the matte and the shiny with the words. Come on. So I love that. It's pretty beefy. I love it. I love that I got this book. In any case, I'll let you know. I loved getting these books because I swear it was like every time I got one, I just had such a great chuckle about it. And it's like, you got to be careful what you say online because people will like listen to what you say. So on the one hand, I don't feel that these were defensive gift sends to me, right? Like, but I also feel like it was like, but no, wait, there are more books. And so I appreciate that. I love that you did that because, obviously there are more than one book to read and to learn from on the tarot, but I'm so excited about the one that I talk about that I just found this to be so sweet and wonderful. We're almost down to the end of the book pile. This video is so long, and quite a few of those are all astrology. This one is not an exception. Astrology for Relationships, Your Complete Compatibility Guide to Friends, Lovers, Family, and Colleagues. It includes the moon, sun, and rising signs, and this is by Jake Register. There you go. This was part of a gift that I got. I think that the next book, there are 3 more books that came from this publishing house. It's DK. I don't even know what DK stands for. I've seen these books before. They make these beautifully illustrated big books on a specific topic. It's not just things that are spiritual or astrological. It's a division of Penguin Random House, Darling Kindersley Limited. A division of Penguin Random House. I'm not sure, but these books are huge. They're beautiful, hardcover, and it's like a glorified like beginner's guide or dummy's guide too, which I like. They did a good job with it. I got a gift of 3 of these, and I think the 3 are going to be coming up. They make amazing gifts, great coffee table books, like really, really great. I'm going to just peruse through this, and maybe this actually may not become part of the giveaway, only because I love the idea of having these lying around as like a coffee table yummy, like, let's sprinkle our magic all over our home. This is a beautiful book for people to peruse through and gain something from while they're just sitting around hanging out. So there's that. This one is another DK book, and same thing. It's on the tarot. Contact yourself, develop your intuition, and live mindfully. Of course, everyone's got to have all the card correspondences. The illustrations are really beautiful. Yeah, so I'm interested actually in doing some research as to what else DK is putting out, because these serve a purpose. They're not deep study books by any means, but there's something so beautiful about it that it's like each book is an art piece, which I really appreciate. All right, before we get to the next DK book, I'm going to give you a couple more books. This, I know you all know who this is. Chani Nicholas just put out I think this is her first book, You Were Born for This. another astrology book, but her reports are at this point world famous. She just does a really great astrological work. So excited to see what she has to say. She's pretty respected in modern astrological community. And this is by Juliana McCarthy, The Stars Within You, A Modern Guide to Astrology. I mean, my God. But look. Oh, I love the shiny. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh, love it. So, I mean, what else can I say? It's all about astrology. This is by Sarah Faith Godessteiner, The Moon Book, Lunar Magic to Change Your Life. It's put out by St. Martin's Essentials Press. Really pretty. We've seen other books that have this type of cover before. This is becoming a little bit more of a common graphic that people are using. I don't even know how I'm going to lift this book, so hold on. All right. This is the final book. This is the final DK book, and this is a book that you can literally lift weights with and come out looking buff, because holy cow, this book. It's called Parker's Astrology, A Definitive Guide to Using Astrology in Every Aspect of Your Life by Julia and Derek Parker. I mean, this book is huge. I swear to you, it weighs about 7 pounds. It's it's like 8 bricks. It's crazy. So there it is. It's another DK book. This is an extensive book of information. Like, this would be the deep dive. It looks like it would be the deep dive. I mean, holy cow. I have no idea because I haven't read it. Thank you for the person who sent it to me. Like, a lot of reference material in this book. Remember when I talked about, I'm going to talk about this book until the day I die. Remember when I talked about Holistic Tarot and how big and chunky and beefy, and it was like 800 and some odd pages. It was probably, the size is half of this. This is as many pages. Is that true? No, this is about 600 pages, 500 pages. But the pages, the book itself, are like twice the size of that book. This is a big mother. Boom. Really quick, because I have been on this video for a very long time. I'm going to retire and I'm going to spend my days doing nothing but reading and drinking coffee. That's what my life wants to be. I want that for myself. But in terms of managing to be read piles, right now, I'm just going to give you like a little insight into what's going on with me. I'm breaking things down into piles by topic, simply because I am usually a mood reader in that I just read whatever's calling to me next. I don't have any rhyme or reason in terms of how I pick up a book, even with regards to how I choose books for the Witches book subscription. For the most part, like 90% of the time, the way I pick those books is that I've read this and it's amazing and I want to send it out. In the last 3 months, I think, I have shifted that a little bit. I picked the last 2 books specifically because it was a very deep departure in tone and topic from all the other books that we had been doing for a while, because I wanted to talk about the contrast in reading, and I wanted to talk about both the topics of those books, but also in terms of the types of books that we are going to be maybe diving into more further in the future, and the different types of tone that we can find in the books that are out there. But for the most part, I'm a mood reader, and how I choose the books for the Witches Book Coven, the Witches Book subscription, is by my mood as well. I want to experiment with changing that moving forward, and this is why this is kind of circling back to what do you do when you have a massive book pile of to be read books, and where do you go? I am dividing them into topics because I really am interested in doing more of a deep dive into specific topics. And the deep dive is not just in terms of reading books that are super advanced, but it's more about what is the overall general but also deep conversation going on out there with regards to a particular topic, with regards to publishing, and what books are being made about this topic in general. So it's a desire to understand what is the trend right now, as well as what has ever been written on this, and let's go for the full Monty. Like, let's go for the full thing to see what all has been written out there as much as possible, so that I not only have an understanding of where we have come from and come around in that topic, but where possibly we're going in that conversation. It's a desire, it's an experiment that I have yet to really figure out how to fit into my life, right? Because it does bring up some issues. It brings up issues around, can I do that while continuing to do Booktube videos to give you something different to read every week? And or can I do that in a way that you're not going to get bored? If I spend 2 or 3 years doing nothing but reviewing books on, let's say, meditation or the occult or whatever topic you want to bring up, is that going to get boring that you're just going to be like on the same topic week after week to week? So I'm not quite sure how I want to do this. I do know that I want to do more videos where I group 3, 4, or 5 really cool books together on a topic to say, hey, these are the 5 that I recommend out of maybe the 25 that I've read. But that's going to take time. And so I'm not quite sure. I'm just now I'm just kind of, this is like a little vlog now where I'm just kind of giving you like my thought process around where we are with the Witches Booktube channel, where I am with my reading, how I sort of plan on tackling the amounts of books that I am completely surrounded by in this room. So this is just what I'm kind of mulling around with right now in terms of all the reading. And on that note, I need to leave this video because if you have stuck with me this long, I mean, big blessings to you and big gratitude to you. I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate you being the voyeur and me looking through all of, well, not all, but a good chunk of my to-be-read pile in my new book haul. If you've read any of the books that I have shown you today, talk to me about them down below. We will talk again next week about one book. I promise. It'll just be one book next week, all right? Mwah. Take care. Bye.